This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch. We're going to start it off right away, Jack. We're going to get into it. Last night's game. The NFL is back. Kansas City hosts Detroit in the first game, and they slide by with a 1-point victory, Jack. A lot of different storylines out there. Kelsey was out for the game. Of course, their big defensive tackle, Chris Jones, will be out for longer than that. And a former Giant wide receiver didn't have a good game, Jack. So,
Kadarius Toney.
Yes.
Well, Mac, we don't know how long Chris Jones is really going to be out for. Their great defensive end, the anchor of the Kansas City Chiefs defense for years. Ironically, he was watching the game from one of those luxury booths in Kansas City. Obviously, the Chiefs had to supply it. Why was Chris Jones there? I wonder, and I know you still want to support your teammates, because if everything backfires, he doesn't get a new deal, he's going to come back after game 8, because for him to want to be a free agent next year, he at least has to play the majority of the season, be on the active roster. So his plan is to come back after 8 games. That's the plan right now. But seeing the game yesterday, the temptation to come back might be overwhelming. And him being in the stands, that doesn't go over too well with the Kansas City Chief fan base, the public. Even though they revere him, he's in a position to help. And there he is sitting there. Stay at home, Chris. If you're truly holding out, don't be there for everyone to see you. Don't be there for everyone to focus on you. And Chris Jones could have been a difference maker yesterday. I got to believe if Chris Jones had been in and Travis Kelce had been healthy and he was able to play the first game, then the Chiefs beat the Lions in a close one. But missing their 2 star players after Patrick Mahomes, I think, was a difference maker, and it gently tilted the scales in the Lions' favor in what was destined to be a close game any way you look at it.
It looked to me like Mahomes did everything humanly possible to keep Kansas City in the game. Without those 2 stars, you might think the Lions would beat them by more than 1 point. I think the thing that that broke Kansas City's back was the pick 6, Jack. When it went through Kadarius Toney's hands, they took it back for a touchdown. So, what do you think about Kadarius Toney? You've always been an advocate of Kadarius Toney. The Giants should have kept him. Why did they let him go? Yada, yada. What are your thoughts now?
Well, I felt when he was with the Giants, if he had serious maturity issues, they couldn't straighten them out, I don't mind that the Giants moved on from him. But the difficulty I had with the Giants moving on from Kadarius Toney, when he went to the Kansas City Chiefs last year, was effective. He was part of their Super Bowl winning team. He had a great kickoff return, a punt return in the Super Bowl. So he really did contribute, and he was penciled in as a major contributor this year as well. So if he could do that under Andy Reid and a superior team, the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, why couldn't the Giants have straightened out his issues? That's what I wondered about. But with that said, yesterday, it was awful. A pass going through his hands, getting intercepted. The stat comes under Patrick Mahomes' byline, interception return, for a touchdown. And it kind of makes it look like Mahomes really threw a pick 6 when in reality, the ball was delivered properly to Kadarius Toney. Skibby Moore, the other receiver, he missed the key pass thrown his way. And Mahomes was doing all he reasonably could with what he has. And they don't have a great running game, the Kansas City Chiefs. They have Pacheco, who was a great story last year as a 7th-round draft choice, having a really good year for the Chiefs, standing out in the Super Bowl. but it's a new year. And in a way, you wonder, have the Chiefs gotten a little complacent? And it's hard to imagine that under a coach like Andy Reid, who's so innovative. But you just kind of wonder. Like even with the Lions yesterday in the game, where the Lions on a punt inside their own 20, they faked it and they got a first down. And it was kind of sending a message that the Lions have all this energy. And you kind of think, were the Chiefs caught napping on that? But with that said, if Chris Jones had been in and Kelsey had been in, I got to believe Kansas City does win that game. Because I'll tell you, Mac, every quarterback needs a primary guy, go-to guy. It's very, very important. And even when Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill last year, he still had Kelsey. That was always his go-to guy. Yesterday, there was no go-to guy. You're spreading the ball out to a bunch of guys who you really don't have the ultimate trust in.
I agree with everything you said there, Jack. And I'll also, they got 2 new offensive tackles. Both their offensive tackles are with other teams now. And getting back to Kadarius Toney, the Giant fans are just celebrating this because of all the things he said on Twitter about the Giants. I think that the maturity issue was a huge, huge reason why the Giants got rid of him. And the 2 draft picks they got for him, one, we got a starting cornerback out of it. Banks is our starting cornerback from that trade. And the other one, we got Waller from it. We used him to get Waller from the Raiders. So it looks like the Giants came out on the winning end of that trade for no doubt.
Whoa, what Kadarius Toney has to do is sit at a table with the Giants, and when he shakes their hand, they'll see the Super Bowl ring on his finger. So I don't want to hear the Giants got the better of the deal. Kadarius Toney contributed to the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl.
They definitely got the better of the trade.
A contributor.
They got a starting cornerback.
And if Kadarius Toney doesn't return that punt the way he did, maybe the Chiefs don't beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Maybe they do, Jack. That's all hypothetical. The point I'm trying to make is going forward, Giants got a starting cornerback and maybe going to be one of the best tight ends in the league this year.
And the Chiefs got a Super Bowl banner hanging, You're going to give
Kadarius Toney the credit for that?
I give him credit for contributing. He contributed mightily in that game. And this is one game in the season. One game in the season. And before you start bragging about the great Darren Waller tight end, he's been injured a lot.
He's been injured. And so has Kadarius Toney, Jack. He's been injured a lot too. So, I mean, what does that matter?
He contributed after the trade. He's already left his mark with the Kansas City Chiefs, and Darren Waller hasn't yet done anything with the Giants. But with that said, if both of them stay healthy, I do like that deal for the Giants to get, Darren Waller, Banks at corner, however they worked it out. But
I do too. So.
Don't start gloating that Kansas City.
It's my turn. It's my turn. It's my turn to gloat, Jack. Right now.
You have nothing to gloat about. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
I do. That was last year. That was last year, Jack. This is this year. Patrick Mahomes looked like a normal quarterback. This first game, Jack. He didn't look like Patrick Mahomes. Everybody was taking the Chiefs, including me, saying, Patrick Mahomes is a magician. Well, he ran out of tricks last night, Jack.
I picked the Lions, Mac, to win. Keep the yesterday.
I know.
Not to cover the points, to win the game.
I know you did.
Right, yeah.
But, I picked that before we knew before we knew that Travis Kelce was not going to play. You picked it after you knew that Kelce wasn't going to play. Isn't that correct?
Well, we didn't know till game time whether he wasn't going to play or not.
Oh, okay. So you picked it. I don't got a time on that, so I didn't know whether.
Okay, it doesn't. But the bottom line is the Lions won. The Lions are 1-0. Right. The Chiefs are 0-1. Chiefs should be all right. Andy Reid came under certain criticism, Mac, for late in the game They had the 3 timeouts left. They were going to go for it on 4th and 20. They got flagged, and then they went on 4th and 25. And some people, wanted the opinion, kick the ball off, use your 3 timeouts. Okay?
Right.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether I necessarily agree with that. I'm going to tell you why. Because you go on 4th and 25 and you don't make it, you still have a chance to get the ball back. Kansas City, the Lions could have kicked the field goal. You still can win it with a touchdown. So going with it, when they went on it in 4th and 25, didn't make it late in the game. They didn't stop the Lions. Bottom line, they had to stop them. They still could have gotten the ball back. But if you punt it and you don't go for it on 4th and 25 and they make a first down, you don't have a shot, to throw the ball downfield and get a first down.
Yeah,
and Patrick Mahomes has worked that type of magic over the years. So even though it seems like an extreme long shot, he does have a chance of making the first down. A realistic.
To me, that's 2020 vision, Jack. If it worked out, he would have been a genius, right? Everything would have been fine in Chiefland. So, folks, we're running a little promo here. If you pick now, these picks have got to be in by Saturday, not Sunday because I want time on my email. But if you pick all 15 winners for Sunday's games, you get a free Mac and Jack's Sports T-shirt and a coffee mug. And all you got to do is submit those picks to macman.121062 at yahoo.com. And we'll pick a winner from all the people that play there. If we get more than one winner, we'll just randomly pick one. And nobody from Northeast Streaming Sports can play that pool. So let's hit the Major League Baseball standings, the playoff race. And we'll have Byron Williams coming in here in a second. Jack, the Yankees have got back in the wild card race barely. The AL East, Baltimore is at 88-51, Tampa Bay at 85-55, Toronto at 77-63, Boston at 72-68. Yankees, with that youth movement they got going on, are at 70-69. Now these standings are as
70-70. They lost yesterday. The Yankees.
I was going to say, Jack, these are as of yesterday. Seattle. Let's go to Minnesota first at 73-67. The West, Houston is back on top at 80-61. Seattle is 78-61. Texas at 78-61. In the National League, Atlanta is at 90-48. Philadelphia at 77-62. Florida at 76-67. In the Central, you got Central, is that Texas, Jack? No, National League. Central, Chicago at 76-64 in second. Cincinnati at 73-69. And the West, the Dodgers are in first at 84-64, comfortably over Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants. Your wild card, if it ended today in the AL, would be Tampa Bay, Texas, and Seattle. The wild card, if it ended today in the National League, would be Philadelphia, Chicago, Arizona, and San Francisco are tied at the moment. And in Major League Baseball news,
it would be Mac. It would be Toronto a half game over Texas for the last wild card spot. As of today.
Toronto, my bad. I said Tampa Bay. It's Toronto. You are correct.
No, Tampa Bay. You're right. You said Texas. It would be Toronto.
Right. Wild card, Philadelphia again, comfortably over Arizona, and San Francisco's tied. Julio Urias, the pitcher from the Dodgers, has been placed on admin leave after domestic violence arrest, Jack. So I guess it's pretty bad. He was arrested. And so that's your Major League Baseball playoff update.
I heard it's the second time. Enough is enough. One time is one time too many. But we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But when something's a repeat offender, it gets to be too much of a serious situation. The teams really want to stick with the guy. It gets really ugly.
I agree. Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, every Friday morning. How you doing, Byron? Football started last night, Byron. Were you surprised at the result of the game, Byron?
I wasn't really surprised, but I was excited because it was a good game, good play game. I think this kicked off the season well. And just goes to show you what one player not being able to play can hurt a team. But it tells you also that the other players need to step up when they're supposed to. And they didn't. Some of the players on the Kansas City Chiefs team didn't do that. But I'm excited. I'm excited for Detroit. I'm excited the way the game started. And, one of the things that, you see every year that when you go to the Super Bowl, you got a big target on your back. So everybody's gunning for you and shooting for you. So it was a good game. And I think it's the way to get the season kicked off for the weekend.
We're all saying that about Kelce not playing. And, of course, Chris Jones didn't play, 2 new offensive tackles.
Right.
But when Detroit played him last time with Kelce, with his weapons,
Right.
Detroit beat him. So, I mean, this Detroit team, I don't know if they won the division or not. I think it's going to be a close division.
Right.
But they came out to play, ran the ball well, Goff passed the ball well. So, I mean, we could say that, but yet, before that, Detroit still beat Kansas City.
Detroit is running away with the division, Mac. It's not going to be close.
Oh,
All your panel of experts who picked the Chicago Bears. I was laughing last week. I thought
overreaction, Jack. Jack wins against Detroit, wins one game, and they're going to run away.
I told you 2 years ago where the Lions were now going to be, that they were going to be Super Bowl contenders in 2 years. And here we are 2 years later, and they are.
Oh, you believe one game makes them a Super Bowl contender?
More than one game. They've been trending towards this. They're going to be a serious force. They're making a serious run for the Super Bowl. I'm picking the Eagles to get there eventually. But Detroit's going to the playoffs. They're going to win a playoff game at least.
Oh, my God.
And they're going to contend.
There he goes, Byron.
But they still got to beat the Vikings, I think. I think they got to beat the Vikings. And but it's going to be interesting to see what happened over there. And it all going to reflect back to being healthy, what players are healthy. But right now, the scheme of things and the way that Dan Campbell coach is exciting. What he have done for us putting pieces in place and things like that, it's going to be hard to beat Detroit for sure.
They'll have a good team. I don't know about Super Bowl contenders, but they will play better this year than they did last year. Byron, Joe Burrows, highest paid player in the NFL right now, gets a 5-year, $275 million contract, $219 million guaranteed. Joe Burrows got hurt first year. He pulls a calf muscle this year. I don't know if that's the right move. I don't know if I would have paid him all that money, Byron.
Well, I just think some teams are trying to lock up some of the players that they know they have to continue to build their team around. And I think that's good for Cincinnati. No more worries. And it speaks volume for the upper executive, to make sure that they want to lock him in and get him set to focus on winning games. And I think that's a good move for the team overall. I think a lot of teams need to start doing that more with the players that they know that they're going to be there for the next 2 to 5 years.
I think eventually Burrow redoes his deal. I think he would redo it at the end of the season, especially if the Bengals win the Super Bowl. He'll want to keep Chase and Higgins, his receivers. Mm-hmm. So I could see this being the type of deal that's going to be redone. You're giving him the record-setting contract up front, but there are always ways to renegotiate and work things to keep certain players on your team.
Absolutely, and that's what Tom Brady did. That that the Bucs are still paying him $30 million. So you see it now in this day that the quarterbacks go back and renegotiate. Aaron Rodgers did it. They go back and get some extra money. I know Tony Romo was still getting paid from the Cowboys. So you see those quarterbacks when they make those big deals like that, they come back and be able to just make sure that their team signs more players that they need to have on their teams.
Well, Nick Bosa just did that. Nick Bosa and Brown, the big tackle, they both restructured their contracts so that San Francisco could, get another player, or they come in under the cap. So it does happen a lot.
And then the way Nick Bosa was holding out, he got his money. I don't think he was restructuring anything.
He did restructure his contract, Jack, after he signed, so that they would come under the cap. Him and the big tackle there, Brown. I know that's his last name.
Trent Williams.
Yeah. There you go, Trent Williams. They both restricted their contracts for the
year. I know. Back in the '80s, I know that Lawrence Taylor was still getting money from the Giants in 2000. And I was like, man, that was crazy. That was my first time hearing of a player really doing something like that. Was Lawrence Taylor one of the first guys to have done that back early on?
Okay, all right. Let's take a little look ahead at some of the key matchup games, Byron. I know you and Jim did your picks on J&B Talking Shop. That's on every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you guys, and of course, Jim is all over the Cowboys again this year. Well, especially this year. So let's look at some of the things. You have the Browns and the Bengals coming up. We were just talking about Joe Burrows. Joe Burrows has never beat the Cleveland Browns, Byron.
He haven't. And I think that's been a challenge for him. And, we was talking earlier, some teams just like Detroit, some teams just match up better with against some certain players, some teams. And I think Cleveland got his number so far. But, I think if they tweak and have another good game plan, I think Cincinnati can definitely beat them. But when you go to Cleveland in a dog pound and just that environment alone, you got to be able to sound out all the noise. But I think he had been having difficulty beating the Cleveland Browns for some reason.
That Cleveland Brown defensive line is pretty good. I mean, that defensive end they got out there that can, he made the top 100 players this year.
Myles Garrett.
Yeah, Myles Garrett. And he feasted on Burrows because of that suspect offensive line. Do you think the Bengals upgraded their offensive line this year at all, Byron?
I think they did, but in the past 2 or 3 years, that was one of the weakest points on their team, and I think they probably been improving it over this past season, this offseason. But that's gonna be the key. They always said that the offensive line is gonna be able to take them over the hump, and so hopefully they did add some more players. I know they signed a couple of players this year, but definitely that's been the so eye for the team because they've been able to hit a barrel and affect his performance a little bit up there. But that's when they play Cleveland Browns.
Well, Deshaun Watson hasn't lived up to what they traded for, signed Deshaun Watson to that massive contract. He really hasn't kicked it in yet, Byron. Is this the year that Deshaun Watson, starts going back to what he was when he first came in the league?
Absolutely, and he hadn't played in 2 or 3 years, and this is going to be the factor to see if he can do what he did when he first got into the NFL. But he got to, it's a make or break season for him. He definitely need to come in and make a big impact, and that's going to be the key factor for Cleveland Browns. I mean, it's been that factor ever since, But it's definitely going to see whether or not if he worth the money that they paid him, and it's all about performance. And these players got to be able to realize that, and that this is his last chance probably too as a good starting quarterback. The teams continue to move on from players that hadn't done what they're supposed to be, predicted.
No, Byron, $230 million guaranteed. Cleveland can't move on from him. Now, know what they want to. Deshaun Watson, if he shakes off the rust and he's at his very best, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL comfortably. I mean, who are you going to really rate ahead of him? You could do Mahomes, Burrow, but then he's right there. He's right there with Justin Herbert. Maybe he's right there with Josh Allen. But has he lost? Could you lose something as a quarterback with that inactivity he's had the last couple of years? That's what I'm concerned about. He's young enough where that shouldn't be a problem. But can he lose a certain edge that maybe he never gets back, try as he might?
Well, one of the things that I always be concerned about is the coaches and the staff and the executives have seen him in practice, and that's something that we don't see that much. And I think if if that's an indication of what they know about what the expectation of him for his performance, I think that's what they got to base their judgment off of. And so I think his practice and things that he's been doing inside the building and some of the things that he do away from the team is the key factor for him. And I think that's what they know and they're concerned about. Because on the field, he gonna perform hopefully, and I think that's what they see, and more than anybody else. I think this game would dictate and see if he's really ready to be the same player.
What's interesting, he has Elijah Moore, who came over from the Jets as one of his receivers. Yeah. And the Jets had big plans for Elijah Moore, and Elijah Moore had discontent because they weren't really using him as much as he felt they should have. But I always thought Elijah Moore had the potential of being if not an elite receiver, a top-of-the-line receiver. And if he really thrives with Cleveland with Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a good number 2 behind Garrett Wilson, you're going to kind of wonder what the Jets were thinking.
Yeah, and sometimes a new environment is help a player out too. So, and plus he got Amari Cooper there, and they got a good tight end. So they got some players that gonna be new to the scene this year, and we'll see what they do. But Cleveland, one of the teams that I'm like, man, it's gonna be a really exciting year to watch them play, because that whole conference, that North Conference, is gonna be awesome to look at and see what happens in AFC.
We can't forget about Chubbs either. I mean, Chubbs is one of the best running backs in the league. They did. They did lose their other running back there that still out there at free agency trying to find a team, right. But that's what they depended on, and they did go to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield, and he's nowhere as good as Deshaun Watson was in his prime. So, I mean, if Deshaun Watson does play close to what he played like, Cleveland's going to raise a little cane over there in the North. They might even win that division if Deshaun Watson plays as capable of playing right now. Very possible.
Yeah, no doubt, because that whole division is tough. I mean, they're going to beat up on each other, and the team that probably come out that division probably going to go to the Super Bowl.
It's possible. Very possible. So let's take a look at San Francisco versus Pittsburgh. To me, this is going to be a big game. San Francisco's got to travel cross country, play the Steelers in Pittsburgh, which nobody likes playing in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh has upgraded a lot. Their defense, they added another defensive end. Their offensive line is very good, and it looks like their quarterback Pickett is becoming a better quarterback. I was all over him. I didn't think he was going to be that good, but maybe he proves me wrong this year.
No doubt. I mean, just the good thing about him is he got confidence. I love his style of play. You see, he drastically improved. He one of the most improved quarterbacks in the and this is his second year. So I'm excited to see how he can manage the talent that they have in place. And the running back Harris needs to have a better year than he did his rookie year. And I think they're gonna be off and running. They got one of the best coaches in the league. That coach ain't never been under 500. So
Shanahan.
Yeah.
But guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And what's interesting to me, Brock Purdy's now going against it. It was a wonderful story last year with Brock Purdy, 7th round draft choice, Mr. Relevant, having the great year he did, but he did it as a game manager. Kudos to him. Right. But Brock Purdy should be no more than a backup quarterback at this stage right now. And we're going to see, you're going to see against the Steelers defense. You can only dump the ball off so much to McCaffrey, Kittle, and everything. You don't think Mike Tomlin's going to be swarming those guys? You got to be able, you should especially know this, Byron, you have to be able to stretch the field to keep the defenses honest, to keep them a little loose. Because if they can jam up and they know there's a lot of short passes, a lot of flares thrown, I mean, they're going to merge on it. And I don't want to hear Brock Purdy's final line might look good 11 for 16, but a lot of short and effective passes. And I think you're going to see a difference in quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett is going to take more chances against the 49er defense than Purdy will against the Steeler defense. But in fairness to Purdy, coming off an injury, I don't know how healthy he really is still, number one. And number two, you come off an injury the way he did, I could understand the coaching staff wants him to get his confidence back. So they don't want to put him in a spot where he's going to throw, 2-3 interceptions. But keep an eye on this game. This is going to be interesting. Purdy against an elite defense. It'll give you an idea of how advanced he truly is.
Yeah, and I think that you're absolutely right. I think I think the weapons around him, he Debo and Christian McCaffrey, I think they definitely gonna be the key factors for him to be successful and how quickly he can get the ball out, because that defense is gonna be coming, and that's for sure.
We're talking about the Pittsburgh defense, and the San Francisco defense is probably the best defense in the league. So I mean, I don't want to hear that Pickens is going to throw a bunch of bombs on these guys when you're going to have Nick Bosa and that front four all over him the whole game. And they may have the best middle linebacker in the league. I don't want to hear that it's going to be a test for just Purdy. It's going to be a test for Pickens too. So I'm not as confident and Pickens against the 49ers as Jack is, and I think Purdy will be fine against the Steelers. They'll take what they give them, and that's what you got to do against a good defense. So
the Steelers got Mike Tomlin. They got Mike Tomlin, arguably the best coach in the NFL. Arguably.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. I think Shannon's a pretty good coach too. So I
wouldn't put him on Tomlin's level. And this Steelers team is gearing their defense towards great things. And with TJ Watt's going to be in game shape. Bosa, I don't know what type of game shape he's truly going to be. And I think Bosa is going to be effective because he's such a great player. But TJ Watt is more ready. He's had the full training camp. Bosa's been working out on his own, and I don't doubt that he's in shape, Bosa. But TJ Watt's really going to be bringing it on Purdy.
Well, the good thing about it, it might be a good close game, because we're going to see what happened, because Pittsburgh play good at home too, and they fans are all over the terrible towels. So
I'm not even picking San Francisco to win this game. I just don't think. I think it's going to be a dogfight all the way out. Two defensive teams going at each other. I would give San Francisco an edge in the running game, though. That I would do. I would Debo.
Well, 49er kicking game reportedly is a complete mess. And I'm going to tell you something. If they lose this game, because on special teams, because they miss a couple of kicks, you kind of wonder, because they've had the warning. There's so many kickers out there who you could bring in all of a sudden who've been cut by teams who could be effective. And you kind of wonder, with Robbie Gould, maybe bring him back.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point, because that special team is might be the factor in the game.
That field goal, that last minute field goal, that might win it or lose it. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Philadelphia and New England. The Patriots, and I don't want to even talk about Bill Belichick's personal life with his girlfriend leaving him, even though I just said it. That I don't know if that will affect Bill or not. I don't think so. But you got in Foxborough, you had the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl runner-up last year, with one of the deepest teams in the league, no doubt. They can interchange people in and out of there like crazy, especially on defense. They got youth and veterans mixed in. They're aggressive. They're deep. What do the Patriots got? How do the Patriots match up against this Eagles team? I don't know, Byron.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a hard game, but it'll be a good game. That's who you want to play. You want to play the best and kind of see where you are early on, and then you can make some minor adjustments, during the season going forward. And then Mac Jones can get in there and get comfortable. I think that's gonna be a key factor too, because these guys ain't hard to play during the preseason. So this is gonna be a good test to see if you can get the timing down. But it's always tough to play in New England. I don't care if you don't throw the records out in New England, but it should be a good game.
I hope so. The advantage I see New England having is that their tight ends against the Eagles linebackers. I think they got an advantage there, and hopefully they use that.
Yeah.
Because it'd be hard to run the ball and throw deep on the Eagles. We'll see what happens over there. And to contain that Eagle offense, Patriots normally have a good defense. And we'll see how good they are right off the rip. Miami against the Chargers, Tua versus Herbert. Remember when they first came out, right? Miami took Tua. A lot of people said, well, maybe they should have took Herbert. And it looks like right now, anyway, Herbert was the better choice. Record-setting 4 years there, Tua being injured. Supposedly, Tua took jiu-jitsu classes to learn how to distribute his weight better. I mean, there's a whole thing going on here. Miami's a very talented team. Chargers are a very good team. They're playing in L.A. Right. Miami, again, is going to travel all the way to Los Angeles to play them. What's your thoughts on that game, Byron?
Me and Jim be talking about the travel stuff. I think the travel gonna hurt Miami, but Jim say, "No, you said it ain't gonna hurt 49ers going on to Pittsburgh." I said, "Well, but the deal is, I think the Chargers is a different team. I think the last 2 years I've been on their bandwagon, and I just see the Chargers just cleaning out the gut, some of the mess out of their past. I think it's gonna be hard to beat the Chargers, but the Dolphins has got so much talent. It's gonna be might be the game of the week there. It's gonna be a good game.
That might be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the AFC Championship game. That's how good I think both these teams are going to be this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I see both teams about 10-7. Chargers have the potential to go even like 13-4. I don't think they will. The Chargers, they just remind me of a dysfunctional team. All the individual talent. Like I said on the past show, these are the same players that had a 4-touchdown lead on a novice Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. A novice Jaguar team who was just happy to be there, yet they blew a lead like that.
Yeah.
Something is dysfunctional in San Diego. You mentioned the Tua Justin Herbert comparison. I don't look at it as a mistake by the Dolphins taking Tua. He was the consensus #1 pick the year before. There was a term tanking for Tua, right, thinking which team was going to get him. He fell to #5. The Chargers went #6. Obviously, if you had a chance and you were the Dolphins have a do-over, you take Justin Herbert. In large part because Tua's been injured. But when Tua's been healthy, he's shown the flashes that he could be great. But staying healthy is the big issue with Tua.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. But I've been a Justin Herbert fan ever since day one, since he left the University of Oregon. And I just think this guy is a premier quarterback. He improved that in his first 4 years in the NFL,
Yeah, I think
he's outstanding.
This might be that might be the game of the week, unless this one is, Byron. Sunday night, we've got the Giants versus the Cowboys, a rivalry since Tom Landry left the Giants to become the coach of the I don't know if it's Texans then or the Cowboys, whatever the team was named at that time. Yeah. That year, the only team they didn't lose to was the New York Giants because of what he knew of the Giants. So this rivalry has been going on since early 60s. Dak Prescott, they say, is under a lot of pressure. Daniel Jones might have to prove that, he's worth the contract he got. Saquon, finally playing. The Giants revamped wide receiver unit against that Dallas secondary. Our young defensive backs against their wide receivers. It's going to be a very interesting game, Byron.
I'm gonna sit there and watch every play, and I just think it might be the game of the week. That Sunday night game, and going up to the Meadowland will be really, really nice at MetLife, and I just can't wait to see what happens because I'm tired of hearing about these Cowboys down here in Dallas, and it's time for the Giants to kick their butt. I told Jim, don't look at the last 2 or 3 years. Nobody care about that. I think the Giants are ready to play, and I think it's gonna be a good time to see what Dak Prescott is gonna do. And I still say you got to let these guys get a couple of reps during preseason, and they set some of these players out the whole time. But But I think it's gonna be a good physical beat 'em up game.
Right. I think so too.
I think it's going to be a nail biter, perhaps coming down to the last play of the game.
Yeah.
I think it's more important for Dallas to win this game than the Giants because I think the mindset in Dallas, if they should lose to the Giants, there's going to be so much anger. You get the feeling this is not a happy Jerry Jones going into the season. You get the feeling Dak Prescott is under tremendous pressure more than Daniel Jones. The Giants can lose a close game and they'll say, okay, it's one game. We'll come back. The fan base is going to be very relaxed in New York, New Jersey. But if Dallas should lose to the Giants, a team that's certainly capable of beating in their division, there's no way they could put any type of spin on it that wouldn't be ugly. And I think, I could see Jerry Jones at some point in the season doing the unthinkable if Dallas gets off to a slow start and actually firing Mike McCarthy to try to give the team a joke. I think this is kind of a different Jerry Jones this year. That's my sense. What do you think, Byron?
Yeah, I agree with you. But I know it's an urgency, and he already have indicated that if they don't go to the championship game, then his expectation of this team have been really worn off. I just think he's expecting this team to go all the way to the top, and that's what the expectation are. And if anything else happened that's not what he expects during the season, he's gonna change the whole coaching staff. Maybe during mid-season. I mean, I think that's the expectation here because he's expecting this team to go really deep because of the things that he had brought in with Brandon Cooks and all those and the way the defense is looking. So I think that they're expecting high hopes. But I think they're going to line up and play some good defense. They line up and play good defense. It's going to be a good game to watch.
Byron, there is a couple key injuries Dallas has too. One is on the offensive line, one in the defensive backfield. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses. They're not really excuses. We'll see if they play or not Sunday night. I'm expecting Saquon to be used a lot. Sunday night. The Dallas defense, their cornerbacks are strong. Their running game is suspect. You're going to see a lot of Saquon and a lot of Waller, I think, in this game to see if the Giants can move that ball downfield. Maybe keep that Dallas offense off the field. Yeah,
now I'm about to say that. I think that's going to be the two factors, Waller and Saquon. I think we can get Jalen the wide to run off the deep coverages and underneath patterns. I think it's gonna be the Giants got a different look for his offense. I think that's gonna be what Dallas hadn't seen before out of the Giants.
How often Daniel Jones runs to me is going to be an indication of how the season's going to go. Because if he runs less than he did last year and he's relying more on Barkley, Waller, his wideouts, I think that's going to be the pattern of the season. But if Daniel Jones is just taking off on the first sign of trouble, I don't think there's going to be any in-season adjustment. He's going to be a running quarterback the way it was last year. And I think in the long term, that's not going to serve the Giants well. But if he could spread the ball around, run less than last year, and the offense is effective, that's going to be a great sign for the Giants.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, he got a better set of receivers now than ever before.
Well, he's got a lot more speed, that's for sure. And we'll see how Hyatt adjusts to play in the NFL. We'll see if the Campbell move was a good move, getting speed with him there too. I mean, you got to catch the ball. It's good you're fast, right? You got to be able to catch the ball too. And that's, I want to see how Hyatt performs in the NFL in a real game. Not preseason, Byron. I want to see if Hyatt can make some catches out there. If he does, then maybe the Giants have a shot at this year.
Guys, I wouldn't get excited about the Giant wideouts. They're really quite average there. I mean, nothing to get excited about. They'll be more effective if Wallace stays healthy and Barkley stays healthy. Barkley, we know, will have a big year. Wallace should have a really big year. He's one of the best tight ends in the game. If healthy, if those two guys are healthy and Daniel Jones is clicking with them, it's going to increase the opportunity for the wideouts. But if they're not, don't count on the wideouts to bail the Giants out.
Now I don't believe in for us better them out. I just think they just got a better set of overall talent, like a talent pool of players that do different things. I think that's going to be a key. They need to make sure they utilize them in their own, special what they bring to the table. And I think, they got some guys with more speed now than ever before, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, I hear you. The Giant defense against the Dallas offense. I mean, they got to pressure Dak. We got some young cornerbacks out there, Byron, and
absolutely.
They say that they play well together, and there are a lot of expectations of these young cornerbacks. 2 rookies and a second-year guy back there. McKinney is probably the oldest one back there, or maybe Weldon. I'm not sure, but to go up against those Dallas receivers, if we don't get pressure on Dak, and he likes to play one-on-one, and we play out one-on-one with those receivers, Dallas could score some points real quick.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, and that gonna be the key factor probably to see what the separation is between the defensive back and the wide receivers, and that's gonna be that's a good point. And I think so far so good with Banks and the other guy for doing the coverage. They've been right there on real tight in coverages and things like that. So it just can't make no mental mistakes and make sure that these guys are being being adjusted for their routes and things like that. I just think they angles to the ball and their position to the receiver has been really great so far. Hopefully they can continue this game.
And this will be a kind of a test to see how far Thibodeau's come along, because the pass rush is going to be important. Sure. Dallas has a good offensive line, and he doesn't necessarily have to, sack Dak Prescott, but keep pressuring him, okay? Force him out of the pocket, force him to throw sooner than he wants to. I mean, and I don't want to see a big play now and then and him taking most of the game off. I don't want to see that he gets 1 sack, even 2 sacks, but doesn't do anything else the rest of the time. Constant pressure on Dak Prescott, get him out of his comfort zone. It doesn't have to show in the statistical line, but right. I want to see him always, penetrating.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. This second season, he needs to step up and make some big plays. I think, hopefully his arm, that brace that he wear, I don't know if that's how they move him to the other side as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he plays, and he could be a factor.
Well, he's a special project of Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, who could bring out the best in him. And maybe, he'll turn out to be the player he was projected coming out of college. But at some point, it's got to start, and no better place to start opening game against the Cowboys, national TV. I think players are more psyched. Correct me if I'm wrong, Byron. You're playing the Sunday night game, NBC, because everyone is watching that. Your peers are watching that. More important than even your fans and your family, the rest of the league is watching that. That's where you get your respect from the rest of the league, because they're sitting down. They played their games already that day, and they're watching you.
Absolutely. Like last night, everybody watching that game last night. Sunday night and Monday night have been a big plug for these players. So you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody better play their best, because that's where you can get your name. That's where you can get your new contract. So you got to make it happen.
Well, let's talk about one more matchup before we get on to the Jets and Buffalo. Giants signed Okerfe, I think is his name, from the Colts. Very fast, right? A very fast middle linebacker, and they pick up Simmons, who, according to what I'm reading from Wink Martindale, he's going to have a special thing he's going to do with Simmons. I'm not sure what that is, whether it's blitzing or coverage. I don't know what it is, a mixture of both. He supposedly is going to use Simmons the way the Cardinals didn't use Simmons. So with the linebacker crew, versus the Dallas tight ends, again, I think we get a little advantage there. But how effective are they going to be against that Dallas run with them big linemen? And can they get pressure on Dak with that big line of theirs?
I think that's going to be really good. I think it's clever that Wink Martindale be able to do some things. And he's a defensive specialist. That's why I like watching his defense. Think of what he done for Baltimore. Baltimore was known for stopping all kinds of special runs and special offenses, and now he got some talent. And you got to have linebackers that can move and create the mismatch and be able to match up with the running back out of the backfield. And I know Dallas sometimes dump a lot of passes to Pollard out of the backfield. So it's gonna be good to see what happens. I think the good thing about Wayne Wardell, he be putting that chess match together. He create all kind of atmosphere, and he gonna put some pressure on that. So that's a good thing to watch. And now he got some players with the skill set that they can go in and do that. So it's gonna be fun to watch him because he's known to be creative on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, speaking of fun, Monday night, Jack's New York Jets versus the Buffalo Bills, and it's in MetLife Stadium. I like the Jets a lot this year. I think they're young. Picking up Rodgers, of course, was the thing they had to do. Zach Wilson wasn't going to cut it for them. But they do have a decent running game. They got a great young defense going against Buffalo, which I think, my opinion of Buffalo anyway, is they're starting to fall a little bit. They kind of evened out last year, and they're starting to come down a little bit. And I think the Jets are catching them at the right time. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets beat Buffalo Monday night.
Yeah, I'm predicting the Jets to beat them. I just seen a little bit more out of the Jets than ever before. I think Aaron Rodgers is the key factor. I think, you're only good as your leaders, and his expectation is way beyond what these players have ever seen before. For us receivers, we can see them being more focused now. And I think, looking at the Buffalo Bills, I think they got a couple of players that's selfish. I think you got to play this game with a team mindset, and you just can't say me. And you got to sometimes you got to run around to get the other guy open. So I said that had hurt them in the past, but Josh Allen, he made great things happen too. So it should be a good game, but I think now it's gonna be very competitive between the Jets and the Bills. I mean, it's gonna be something to watch.
I believe, I think I don't know if I want to say that Aaron Rodgers right at this point in his career is better than Josh Allen or not, because I think Josh Allen is a great quality quarterback, and of course Rodgers is getting older. But I think for reading defenses, for calling plays and audibles, I think Rodgers has an edge. I don't think the Buffalo defense is that good this year, Byron. I really don't. This could be a runaway. This could be a 2-touchdown win for the Jets, I think. And I don't even know why they're underdog, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you on that, and I just think the Buffalo Bills ain't the same. We'll see. They're gonna get tested, but I really think the Jets is a team that have really made progress with where they position themselves to go to the Super Bowl.
You wonder with Buffalo, with Josh Allen, is he going to be the same type of running quarterback? Reportedly, he's going to be relying on his running backs more. James Cook, from Georgia, a third-round draft choice a year ago. They're going to rely on him to maybe have a bit of a breakout season. But what Max said, I get the feeling that the Buffalo Bills, their window is really closing. I picked them to win the Super Bowl last year. They didn't. Yeah. They were disappointing in the playoffs. No Von Miller to provide a pass rush on Aaron Rodgers. That's certainly going to hurt. The only thing that bothers me about this Jet team, outside of the offensive line, in which they've seemed to make adjustments, but there are question marks still on the offensive line. It's hit and miss. Maybe they'll perform well, maybe they won't. We will have no idea till the first game. And if Buffalo's getting a big pass rush on Aaron Rodgers, it's not going to bode well for the coming season, especially, with Von Miller out. But he doesn't have like a major number 2 target, a receiver, having Lazard, Cobb, the other guys, if something should happen to Garrett Wilson, he doesn't have any other deep threats. And and these elite teams, they normally have 2 thunderbolts, like in Miami, Hill and Waddle, and something with the Jets. I would have liked to have seen them get like in a number 2 receiver, who is a real deep threat. But maybe I'm nitpicking.
Well, another thing that they got Darren Cooks now. Davin Cooks. I think
what an excellent running game with him and Brees Hall.
but he can
I
catch
think
the
that's
ball.
what Rodgers is going to rely on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big plus for them as well.
And their tight ends,
Yeah.
their tight ends are pretty good too, Jack. They got a pretty good crew of tight ends down there. So you might see Rodgers going to tight end more than he did in the past. So I listen. I got no worry about the Jets' offense as long as Aaron Rodgers is out there slinging the ball around. If it was Zach Wilson, I'd be a little bit worried, but not with Rodgers out there. Your opinion, you're a former wide receiver. Jack has talked about Kadarius Toney in the past. He says, he won a Super Bowl. Well, he's right. He did help the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. Did you take any pleasure in last night's game with Kadarius Toney dropping them balls?
That just goes to show you that he still got some ways to go. I think, these players need to understand, you can't drop a couple of balls that really, he came off his shoulder and he should have adjusted and caught that ball. But that's what gave them momentum. That changed the momentum of the game when he didn't catch that ball and it ricocheted off of him. And the defensive back scored that touchdown. It changed the whole momentum of the game. And you can just see the frustration, with what's happening with the Floyd things over there. But LaDainian Toney is one of those players that he was overrated, I think, a little bit coming out of college, and he hadn't matured yet to take it to the next level.
I think what Mahomes was missing yesterday with Kelsey, he had no one who had his back. He had a bunch of guys, and the way to win is, I could understand you want to spread the ball around to 5 different guys, but you want to have one centerpiece. Tom Brady always used to have that with Gronk. As good as Wes Welker, Julian Edelman was, Gronk was his comfort zone. He knew he could always go to Gronk. Gronk could always bail him out if he was having a bad game. And Mahomes was missing that yesterday. Not that he was having a bad game, but Kelsey was his comfort zone. And he was missing that. So he had a bunch of guys. It looked at times like he was having tryouts. Who wants to step up? Skibby Moore didn't come through. The other guys, and even the running game was spotty with the Chiefs. And if they're going to count on Mahomes to carry the team, that's not a formula for winning. One guy's not going to carry the team, the offense, if he doesn't have the supporting cast. Yeah,
and you're absolutely right. And I just think that, but I think, too, they learned a lot of what they need to do. I think, one game don't really make a big difference right now. But I just think, too, that just goes to show you that some of these other players, at the end of the season, you might have to depend on them. And now you're finding out that these guys might not be worth their way to go.
And they're not with the Chiefs their first year. Like Kadarius Toney, he has to grow up by now. And yesterday, the ball that, just went through his hands. I mean, it was ugly. It was a terrible fit.
Yeah.
Before you leave, Byron, I want to go over the 3 rookie quarterbacks, the games they're playing, and who you think will have the better game. And, of course, you got to consider who they're matched up with. So the Texans, C.J. Stroud's going against the Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be a little tough outing playing the Baltimore Ravens' his first game. You have Carolina playing Atlanta. So, I mean, that's a little bit more favorable than going up against the Baltimore Ravens, I would say. And then you got Richardson with the Colts hosting the Jags. Another tough game. So, checking out the matchups against the teams they're playing, who do you think has the better shot at having a good first game?
Oh, man, it's a toss-up with all 3 of those. I just think Richardson probably have a better game because he's going to probably have to run too. He probably got to run and pass. And the other two matchups going to be pretty serious for him because I was just looking at them in preseason play. They was okay, but wasn't growing the way they should. Maybe they just need some more game time and management time to adjust. But I'm thinking Richardson probably be the guy that probably had a better game because he got to do more. He don't have Taylor back there as a running back as well. And And so I think that he's gonna have to run the ball more. So for his passing and running, I think Richardson gonna probably be the better of the three. CJ, I don't know if he's gonna make those adjustments or not, but you know, if you look at Houston and the Texans, they've been playing hard football the last 2 years. They just haven't been winning games. But now they got a new coach, so we'll see. I think Richardson will be the guy that probably be the better of the three.
Maybe for one game, Byron, but Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud are going to have excellent careers in the NFL, and I don't feel that about Anthony Richardson. But it's a running league for quarterbacks. Any quarterback that's a great runner, and as big as Anthony Richardson, he's very physical. He's a hard guy to tackle, and the defense is sometimes reluctant to meet a guy like him head on because he likes mixing it up, it seems, Anthony Richardson, too. Tough guy, lightning quick. So he's going to have some success just by mere force, by running the ball. But you're not going to last long as a quarterback in the league if that's all you're basically doing. And Houston, they built an outstanding offensive line for C.J. Stroud. So the question is how well C.J. Stroud's going to be on his reads. How quick is he going to learn? Because I don't think he's going to be under the pressure that Bryce Young is initially as far as like a pass rush goes. I think they're going to protect C.J. Stroud a bit better. But I think by the end of the year, we're going to look at Bryce Young. Yeah, he's excellent. C.J. Stroud, we're going to look at him as coming along very nicely. And Anthony Richardson, he'll be very entertaining, would have done some wonderful things, but we're not going to look at him as being a long-term solution to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, and I think Bryce, Richardson gonna probably be like Justin Fields, you know, for his.
Not as good. He's not as good as Justin Fields.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Byron.
Keith Angle is picking the Bears to go deep into the playoffs, I think.
So,
but
Keith Angle from TGI Sports Talk. Byron, can you stick around? You got to take off, my friend.
I got to go be there, Arlington. I'm supposed to be there at 8. I told him I'd be a little late, so I got to head downtown. And good to see everybody.
Good chat.
All right, Byron, take it easy. I don't know what it is with Keith Angle and my guest.
I don't know. I chase everybody out. I'm sorry, I'm ruining the ratings here on this show.
So, Keith, how you doing? I imagine you watched a little bit of the game last night.
I did.
Quick thoughts on the game, Keith?
Classic week 1 or even September NFL football. I mean, there was a lot of bad football played, I thought, on both sides of the ball. I don't think the Lions defense, I thought, played pretty well, but I think Kansas City helped that a bit. Obviously, Tony with a big drop for that interception touchdown. The Lions offense was okay, but again, this is a lack of training camp being 10 days in pads. This is what this looks like, and I'm not getting excited if I'm overexcited on either side of this game. Kansas City will be fine. They miss Kelsey a lot.
Sure.
Those Kelsey and Jones, they would have edged the game out. If the two of them would have been playing, you got to feel Kansas City edges the game out.
Even with just Kelsey, because Kelsey, last year when Tyreek Hill left or got traded, everybody was all in Kansas City's done. And I said then it's Kelsey that makes that offense go, and he makes everybody around him better. And that core receivers aren't bad, but they're a notch lower when he's not in the game because they see a lot more attention, obviously. And I think you saw that last night.
Let me ask you this, Keith. I touched upon it with Mac earlier. Chris Jones sitting in the stands, I think, was a bad look. Yeah. You know, if you're holding out, stay home. I know you want to support your teammates still, but you can't do it halfway. Them seeing you in the stands when you're physically able to play.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, if I'm a guy, you're right. I mean, the guy's making plenty of money. He's got a contract. I understand he wants to hold out. That's his prerogative. But like you said, I don't think it serves any purpose being there.
All right.
Distraction.
So I agree with you to that point, Keith, that there is, a lot made out of the first game. If it was a division game, maybe That's like 2 games. The Giants versus the Cowboys, Buffalo against the Jets. That's
Yeah.
like winning or losing 2 games because of being a division game. But I really don't think it's a big deal. It's overreacting on both sides. I agree.
Not a division game. It's not even a conference game. So at the end of the day, if Kansas City is anywhere where we think they are, this won't matter at the end of the year probably at all.
I agree with that. So let's quickly go over to baseball here with the New York Yankees. That youth movement seems to have has sparked the Yankees a little bit, especially Dominguez playing center field, been playing out of his mind. They lost last night, but it seems like they're going to finish out the year with these kids, Keith, and they're still alive for a wild card, believe it or not. I don't expect it to happen, but it's good. It's fun baseball again over in New York.
Yeah, they're 7 games back now, so I don't think that's going to happen with last night's loss. So I doubt that'll happen. But again, as I said before, all summer long, it's not just the fact they were losing, but they were playing boring baseball. Besides, now there's a renewed energy. You can feel it watching the game. You can hear it in the crowd a bit. These kids, and he's come up and played well, especially Dominguez. He's got 3 home runs already. Home run in his first at bat, as we talked about last week. Plays good defense. Wells too is playing, not hitting the ball great, but they're working with him a lot on his defense because they don't know if he's going to be their catcher of the future yet because he's got some deficiencies there. He may even catch Cole the next time out, because they want to see how that works out. And they're working diligently with him on his handling of pitchers and defense in general to make that happen. So I think this is what we want to see. We want to see them build around Dominguez and maybe Wells and certainly Volpe and Peraza and Judge, obviously, and then fill in the holes. Do it like stop just going out and getting pitchers like Rendon, who showed again last night how bad he is. And start building up from the farm system and then filling in the needs like the Astros do, like the Orioles did. These teams didn't build the way the Yankees have tried, or the Mets have tried to build in the last few years. So I like what I see.
All right. And I'll agree with that.
Now, I will have one disclaimer. We have seen a lot of flash in the pans with the Yankees over the years. Kevin Moss and Shane Spencer and Dan Pasqua. Tons of guys.
Okay, if you mentioned Wells at catcher, I don't think catcher is a position of urgency for the Yankees. The guys that they have, Trevino, Gauchiaka, you could get by with them next year. They're fine because around the league, you don't have big hitting catchers. As long as they're good defensively, you kind of get by. Look, even your guy, Gary Sanchez, plays the majority of the game as catcher for the Padres now, to give you an example.
So that's why the Padres are in last place. I'm sorry, they are because Colorado's there to hold them up. But
you're right. There are some good hitting. Real Muto. There are some outstanding hitting catchers out there that still play good defense. So if you get one of those, you're lucky in today's game. That's for sure. So Keith, let's dive into college football. You got some interesting games coming up. We'll take a look at the top 10. And just to let everybody know, Notre Dame is number 10. My Fighting Irish has broken the top 10 again. Let's take a look at Texas at Alabama.
That's the first time I've heard you say "My Fighting Irish." I didn't know.
Well, I've been a Notre Dame fan since I was a kid, since Joe Theismann. So I go way back with those guys. Texas versus Alabama, interesting game. Keith, could Alabama possibly lose this game?
They could. I don't think they will because the game's in Tuscaloosa, and I think they'll win at home. Steve Sarkisian still has yet to win one of these big games as a coach. He'll be playing a lot of these games starting next year if he makes it to the SEC, which I have my doubts he will. Alabama's got some issues at quarterback, issues at wide receiver, but Nick Saban finds a way to get things done. I think Texas will win. I think Alabama will win another close game here. Cam Ewers might be the key here. If he can really go off on this Alabama defense, that's going to be Texas's chance. So we'll see. Got nothing to judge these two teams on yet because they didn't play anybody last week. So
they did not. From what I understand, Alabama's probably going to go back to ground and pound again, Keith, which I don't think is necessarily a bad idea in today's college or NFL because the teams are built for the passing game now.
Yeah, I think they're still in flux with the whole passing game. Last year, even they had trouble with the wide receivers, even when Bryce Young was still there. So they may go back to a little bit more of the old school approach, and that might work because nobody else is doing it. So it might really work against some of these defenses as well. So you knew they were in trouble at quarterback when they brought in the guy who couldn't start for your favorite team, Buckner, down there. Tommy Reese brings him on to be his quarterback, and I think he's the fourth string quarterback now.
I agree. Hey, listen, Georgia Tech, when they got rid of that triple option, they haven't been good anymore. I mean, they're one of the only teams that did it, especially nationally, not counting the military schools. Very hard to defend. So, that's another thing.
Even Army's getting away from that offense this year. They're going to more of a passing offense this year at Army. It's very interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, I agree. We got Stanford at USC, normally a very, very big rivalry in the past, Keith. What do you think? Do you think that Stanford can hold up against USC? No,
Stanford's in the middle of a pretty bad down period. I think they got a good coach in Trailer. I think it's going to take a couple of years for them to bounce back. Their last year in the Pac-12 is going to be kind of rough. USC is really good on offense. Their defense has got to play a little better than what we've seen. Only 14 points last week, but it was against Nevada. But they against San Jose State a couple of weeks ago, they still were letting them go up and down the field pretty good. That defense is going to make or break USC this year. I think they beat Stanford handily.
Okay, all right. Southern Miss versus number 4 Florida State. Is that even a game, Keith?
Doubtful, unless there's a huge letdown on Florida State. Florida State's really good. I'm really high on this team. Well before the other night, I picked them to make the playoff and win the ACC. So I think they'll probably win this game handily.
Okay. Austin P.
Thank
you. Against number 9 Tennessee. What college? Where are they from, Keith?
Tennessee. They're in Tennessee. It's a small college. They do play Division I football. So all these schools. I mean, even Middle Tennessee State, who played Alabama, they play in Conference USA. So they're playing, Division I football. But it's not a game to be. This game's in Tennessee too, so this will get ugly early.
Are you saving, Mac, the biggest game of the weekend in college football? You saving that for last with Keith? I think you know where I'm headed.
I know where you're headed, but we're gonna stay in the top 10 first, Jack. Tulsa versus number 8 Washington.
Washington wins easy. Washington's really good. They beat a really good, or a good at least, a Boise State team at home. They just thrashed them by about 40 last Saturday. I think Washington might be the class of this Pac-12. I think this is the team that might have the best chance of getting to a playoff. The problem with the Pac-12 and the playoff system is they're going to beat each other up. Oregon, USC, Utah, Washington, even Washington State and Oregon. Oregon State. They're all really good. And you're not getting out of that conference undefeated, and that's going to hurt them come playoff selection time.
I think we got Delaware versus number 7 Penn State, Keith. Another great classic traditional rivalry.
Penn State can show up with no quarterback and win this game. Yes.
So, Jack wants to get your opinion on Colorado versus Nebraska. I'm
going to tell you, if Colorado wins this game, Deion Mania is going to take off the same way, kind of like with Tim Tebow. We're going to have that repeat. The momentum is going to build. And if Colorado actually contends for playoff position, this would have been one of the greatest coaching jobs in the history of college football. What would it say about Deion? Deion Sanders would have to be rated as one of the great coaches. And again, consider how bad Colorado's been all these years.
Yeah, and if he can elevate coach in the history of college football. He can come, listen, he'll have. It's 1 year, Jack. Jack, it's 1 year.
I think
1 year means a lot. Look, if Bill Parcells hypothetically took over Colorado and turned the program around, we'd be saying what a genius Bill Parcells
Bill
is.
Parcells has a record, Jack. Bill Parcells is a Super Bowl winning
Dion
coach.
is
That's not the
developing it.
same thing. That is
Look
not
what he
the
did
same thing.
Look what he did at Jackson State, but now Colorado, taking a big time school who's been playing so poorly year after year, and if he can completely turn it around in 1 year, no other coach would have been able to do that in all likelihood.
Look, Keith, would you talk some sense to this man?
I will say this, and don't judge all my comments on where I start. Deion Sanders is a good football coach. When he went to Jackson State, I thought it was a joke. He's a good football coach. He's smart. These kids, he's a good motivator. I don't think he's a great X and O guy. I really don't. I think he's got guys that do that. But he's a really good motivator. That's a big win for the program last week. It gets everybody excited. They could go 3-0, Nebraska and Colorado State the next couple of weeks. I still think they could lose one of those games as well, by the way. Even if they go 3-0, I don't have them going better than 6-6 because they're going to have 2 losses before the end of September. So they're not contending for any playoff spots this year. They got USC and Oregon at the end of September. They're not winning either one of those games. They won't even be in either one of those games, in my mind. Now,
Chief, remember with Tebow, the way it took off. They were winning game after game on a thread.
Yeah, the team was pretty good.
They won a playoff game. They had a run. That's what I'm saying. Colorado's not winning any national championships. But if they could have a run towards the playoffs, contend, make a push towards it, the momentum's only going to build up. The excitement's going to build. It's going to be the biggest story in sports.
You're absolutely right about one thing. What if they go to 3-0 after Colorado State on the 16th, going into Oregon, at Oregon, by the way, the hype will be humongous.
Yeah.
College game day will be there, but they'll get killed when they go on the field. Oregon will wipe the field with them. Their run defense is not very good. Shamir Sanders played a great game at quarterback last week. He's not a Heisman contender after one game against a bad TCU defense.
According to Jack, he is.
Mac. I want to remind Keith, Mac, what Deion Sanders said, and it applies to Keith Engel. Deion Sanders keeps receipts. So he keeps receipts for things that are said about him, like at this point of the year.
Well, that's good. I'm glad he keeps receipts.
Yeah,
he's
I got a lot of uncashed receipts over here.
Oh my God! See, Jack overreacts to
here's the thing too, and when I say what I say, I'm not really feel like I'm dissing Deion. If they win 6 games and get bowl eligible, that is a tremendous success in Colorado. It is. They've been irrelevant for 30 years or better.
When you're saying he doesn't study his X's and O's, I mean, how knowledgeable he is. He's got to be very knowledgeable with his years in the NFL. Jim Jeffcoat said when he was his Deion Sanders teammate, Deion Sanders would show up like 5 a.m. and be studying, game film.
He wasn't a good X's and O's guy. I said he's a good football coach who's a great motivator. I don't think he's great with the X's and O's. I think he's got guys that focus on that, which a head coach should, number one, right? That's what you hire offensive, defensive coordinators to do. And then you should be having the last say and on game plans and individual plays. And I think that's where Deion what Deion does. He excels in the personal relationship thing too. He teaches discipline as well. Hard to believe that he would do this. He benched his own son last year before the championship game that Jackson State played in. So for being 5 minutes late to a meeting, he's not a clown out there. I'm not saying that. He's a really good football coach, but this team's not ready to compete, go 10-2. I'm reading the Pac-12 message boards. They got them 10-2, 11-1. Playoff contention. They're going to win 6 games, and if they lose one of these next 2, they might win 5. So,
Keith, they say that he will. The hype is already there. I don't think the hype can get any more than it is. He's doing commercials. That's all you see on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook is Deion Sanders. Me and Jack will debate something about that tomorrow. So that's a little tease. But listen. to motivate, to be a great motivator is very important as a head coach. I know that. You've got to be able to motivate everyone and individually to get the most out of them. That makes a lot of sense. I don't care if he was there 5 a.m. Every player I heard of now is there first to leave, first there, last to go. There's no guy that says, "Oh, I'm 10 minutes late and I stay for a couple hours and I leave." I've never heard that about a player in the NFL right now. So that doesn't mean nothing to me. He was there, film studying the receivers he was going against. It wasn't for X and O's. It was to study and that's what you're supposed to do.
That's a good point.
That's what you're supposed to do. So hey, take nothing away from Deion Sanders. I'm glad that he has a motivated team. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do.
Exactly.
And hopefully have a good year. I ain't got nothing against Deion Sanders.
Huge overreaction. This team before the season, again, preseason rankings are what they are. We haven't seen anybody play. But they're ranked anywhere from the high 50s to the mid 80s, depending on what poll you're looking at.
But wasn't TCU rated like number 9 in the nation, if I'm not mistaken?
17.
I'm sorry. But they went to the championship game last year, didn't they?
And they lost a lot of
They went to the champion. So Colorado beat the team that went to the championship game the year before.
Last year.
I don't.
Yeah.
I still don't know whether last week's result, and I think it probably does both, speaks more to Colorado, where Colorado is, or where TCU is. So TCU is not going to be nearly as good as last year, and their defense wasn't good. Their offense turned the ball over twice in the red zone. If they don't turn the ball over, and again, I know ifs are what they are, but if they don't turn the ball over twice in the red zone, we're not even having this conversation because they lose the game by 14.
Wasn't one return for a touchdown or something? I saw a highlight, a block kick or something.
I'm not sure. Could be. I don't remember for a fact.
So, Keith, let's get to your Sunday game. Patriots get the luck of the draw. They got the short straw. They go up against the Eagles for their first game. Not a division game. It's in New England. I hope the Patriot fans don't get upset if the Eagles win by 1 or 2 touchdowns. I hope they don't. They're going against one of the best teams in the NFC, or maybe the best team in the NFC. If they play a good, solid game, that's good, I think.
Stay in the game. I will be a homer a little bit. I'm going to pick. I never pick against my team, but it's hard to come up with reasons I can. If with that offensive line, which is theoretically healthy, the whole 53-man roster practiced yesterday for the first time, I think all camp. The offensive line is getting a little healthier, and they're not too bad when they're healthy as a group, but that doesn't happen very often. This is a tough test for Mac Jones in this new offense, going at one of the best defensive teams, especially defensive fronts. They sacked. I think they led the league in sacks the last 2 years. It's going to be a lot of excitement in the building, which I think the Patriots may play off of early in the game. I hope to maybe get them off to a quick start with the Tom Brady celebration, but that only takes you so far. So I'm looking for some reasons that I can pick them to win. If they're in the game in the fourth quarter with a chance to win, that'll be, and again, there's no moral victories, but I won't be totally disappointed. If they go out here and get beat by 4 touchdowns, then that might be a little different.
Do you think, Keith, the celebration for Tom Brady should be taking place after the game? Because even Robert Kraft said we're limited in how much time we have at halftime because of league rules. And maybe they should have just had the big hoopla as soon as the game was over, because the people in New England would have stayed for that. They weren't going to leave.
Yeah, but think about if they do get beat badly, and apparently the Philly sports guy probably thinks they will. If they get beat badly, what's the mood in the stadium going to be for that celebration is going to be a little muted, and I don't think they want that. So I would not have done it after the game. I'd done it before the game, maybe.
Good morning to Pags, the Philly sports guy. He's in his green. It looks like he's in Philly face today.
Looks like he's going to be in green all weekend.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, I had an appearance first thing this morning on a local radio station, and I just wanted to jump on before things got crazy, because I am leaving to head up to Boston in a few hours.
Interesting. Pags, let me ask you real quick before you got to go anywhere. If you're the Patriots head coach, you step in for Belichick, what do the Patriots got to do to beat the Eagles? What can they do?
Slow the game down tremendously. That's what they're going to have to do, and really figure out how to put pressure on. I'm going to say I don't want to say the offensive line, but like more or less like the edges. I would really start to go after. I know that Jordan Mailata is a monster, and he's one of my favorite players, but he is probably the one guy who you could maybe try to take advantage of with special stunts and such. And I think that's where I would go. I would focus a lot of my energy on that side and try to get pressure on Jalen Hurts and just make sure that you're covering the receivers. I know that that's going to leave a lot of the running backs. I think that you're going to see a lot of plays from the running backs and such, because I think Belichick is going to do that. But I think, and then just wait till 39 seconds off the play clock before you snap the ball. The offense has got to take 2 minutes, even for a 3 and out. They have to take 2 minutes off the clock and just be very slow and methodical if you were going to have any chance of trying to win this game.
The Patriots do have a good defense, a good linebacking crew. I mean, that's possible that they do that. I think the Patriots may have an advantage, tight ends versus your linebackers, Pax. That's where I think they might have an advantage.
Yeah, but the biggest disadvantage is the offensive line to defensive line for the Patriots.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be a much bigger problem. You're not going to have the time to throw the balls to your tight ends or anything like that, because they're going to be on him so quick. And I think that's going to be the biggest problem. So shotgun, and maybe it might be the first time that you actually see like the old, I guess like the almost like a wishbone, like a shotgun wishbone formation to give 2-man protect for Matt Jones against that offensive line, and then just only have three guys going out, because I think you're really going to need to protect Mac Jones if he's going to have any opportunity to win this game.
Yeah, I think bubbles. You might see that bubble screen. Bill O'Brien loves that bubble screen that the Patriots used to run a lot of and haven't the last couple of years. You may see a little of that trying to slow that pass rush down a little bit, but if they don't slow the pass rush down, it will get ugly.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Some kind of screens in that, and you are going against a pretty good secondary too, Keith, to throw that in there too.
Oh yeah, no,
not meant to pile on or anything. So listen, I hope it's a good game. I know I'll probably be watching it, and good luck to the Patriots in that game. That's a tough one to come out of the box and play. That's for sure.
Maybe playing a week one is an advantage though, because as we said, there's not enough focus on actual playing. We don't do this in training camp, so getting them early, I think, is probably one of the best things we got going for them here. So.
I agree with that. I think that you're going to see rust, and the rust could play the factor.
Yeah, I agree. Special teams, don't turn the ball over. They need good special teams play, and they can keep themselves in this game. But that's what I'm hoping for.
All right, we shall see. So you're going to be live from when you come on Sunday. You're going to be live from New England, then, Pax. Get you at that title gate or whatever.
That is correct. Right, I will be on location, and I will still. I'll either be in. I should be in Boston at that time because it's a 4:00 game, so I may not even be painted up yet. But I will be in Boston, and then we're going to bus over at around 2:00, 2:30.
Pax, in halftime, is your Eagle contingent going to be applauding for Tom Brady? Are you going to get on him unmercifully like you are the rest of the Patriot team?
Hey, listen, you know what? The one thing that I personally, I respect greatness. And the one thing that you could say about Tom is that he has been the standard on which great quarterbacks now are going to be figured on from here on out. And to reach that status above guys like Joe Montana, John Elway, Johnny Unitas, when you start to put the upper echelon of quarterbacks in the mix, and you say that this guy is better than all of them, you got to pay a certain level of respect for that. That being said, am I going to be, super excited for him? I could care less. But I mean, I will show the respect to Tom by yelling 41-33 every time I can.
Oh, not 28-3. I thought you might be on 28-3.
Well, I wasn't part of Atlanta. I'm not the Atlanta sports guy.
I know.
Now, Falcons, Eagles, they're all.
I can't keep these birds straight.
No. So Pags. So yeah, we'll have the Sunday football show, folks. We have Pags, Keith. We're gonna have a lot of guests. We got like 6 guests coming in. It's gonna be crazy as heck. We'll even be live at Washington. We got Commander Nash, a super fan for the Redskins, or I should say the Commanders. We'll be live tailgating there. Stan the Man will be in. So it's gonna be a really fun show Sunday. So that should be really interesting.
Guys, I got to jump. My meeting just started, so I got to jump, but we'll see you Sunday morning.
All right, Keith.
Thanks. Don't ruin our stadium, all right?
I'll do my best.
All right, Keith Angle again with TGI Sports, talking Patriots, college, and the New York Yankees. The Phillies, Pags, what do they got to do with their pitching staff? They got plenty of power, plenty of pop in their bat. What do they got to do? What kind of rotation do you think they got to set up to be effective in the playoffs?
It's a tough one. You need to the aces, the guys that are supposed to do it, need to start to do it. And that's been the issue. Lorenzen, since he's gotten here, he threw the no-hitter and then has not been very good afterwards. Nola has been sporadic at best. I actually was a proponent of possibly trading Nola at the trade deadline, just because I thought you could get something for him. I thought that another team could actually give us something worthwhile, and it would be a rental for another team where we could maybe get something that of some use. I knew that they weren't going to do that, but I thought that might be a good idea for them. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I just feel like the pitching is going to be the tough parts of this, and they got to start to put it together to be able to get anywhere close to where Atlanta's at.
I agree. And the Dodgers have really been coming on strong. So that's going to be.
Yeah, Pax, is there real sense in Philadelphia that the Phillies are serious World Series contenders? They actually did. It's easy to forget they're the defending National League champions, not the Braves or the Dodgers. But is there a feeling of optimism that they will actually beat the Braves and Dodgers and push comes to shove? Are the fans in Philadelphia kind of resigned? Well, anything can happen in the playoffs, but they're not as excited as you think they'd normally be.
No, I think quite the opposite. I think that they're watching this team start to come alive. And as the weather starts to cool, this team plays better. They like playing better in colder weather. So I feel that the city and the fan base really believe in the team. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's a shame that it's set up this way, but it's going to wind up being that the Phillies are going to play the Braves in the NLDS as long as they remain the number one wild card, which I kind of believe they're going to. So they're going to wind up having to play the Braves in the NLDS, and that's a 5-game series. And that kind of makes me a touch nervous. I like a 7-game series against the Braves this time around, different than last year where we were able to take them out of 3 out of 4. I don't know that it's going to be the same way this time around.
Any chance of any kind of player coming up, Pags, pitcher or position player that could add to the Phillies' chances?
Not that I know of. The only person who they keep announcing as being the guy in the farm system who's doing so great is Cody Clemens, who has already had his cup of coffee up here. And I'm sure he will be part of the playoff roster because
Right.
it'll be worthwhile as an extra bat. But I don't really see anybody in the pitching ranks that are going to make any bit of a difference. I haven't seen any games in September. So, and this is typically when they would start to call people up. So
Yeah.
I have to really, I'll hopefully they do have somebody, but the one guy I thought would have been able to come up right around this time was Painter. Of course, he got surgery, so he's not able to anymore.
So, as college football goes in Philadelphia anyway, at Penn State, Pitt is really not in it that much anymore. Penn State is really the team that has been thriving, at least in the top 10 and making, getting close to the playoffs. What's your prediction for Penn State this year, Pags? Do you think they get close to the playoffs this year?
Beat Ohio State first, and then we'll talk about playoffs.
All right. Okay. You always say that. And it's true. They got to be Ohio.
But they haven't been able to beat Ohio State. It's like Franklin. And I'm not a Penn State fan. So, I understand they're in my state. And because of that, because there's no really college football in Philadelphia, short of Temple, that Penn State does rule the roost here. That being said, they just, Franklin just cannot seem to win the very, very big games. And that means beating Ohio State and beating Michigan. And until he can do that, I don't think it matters whether he makes it in the playoffs or not. Because if you can't beat Ohio State or Michigan, how are you going to beat the likes of Georgia or Alabama?
Well, Ohio State isn't as strong as they were the last few years, Pags. They have little problems in Ohio State. You might be able to beat Ohio State this year. It might be a good game where you guys have a shot at beating them. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to beat Michigan this year, but maybe Ohio.
Well, and the one good thing about the Michigan game is that they moved it from Ann Arbor to Detroit. So that's going to be played at Ford Field rather than at the Michigan Stadium, which I think is a mistake for Michigan. I think Michigan should have absolutely had that game in Michigan, and the fact that they're not is only helping Penn State.
Okay. All right. So there you go. That's pretty much all the Philly news. I heard something about the Knicks trying to get Harden or something like that. That's a bunch of rumors, and they better not even go that route.
Pax, speaking of an old 76er, Ben Simmons says he's ready to, come back. Everything is good with him now. He's going to have a great year. He's at the top of his game.
Good for him.
Well, he'll certainly help the Brooklyn Nets. He'll be a force. If he comes back, he's ready to reach his full potential, he claims.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay, but are the 76er fans going to become a little disgruntled if he turns out to be a great player for the Nets?
So, does it matter anymore? I feel like the Ben Simmons saga in Philadelphia is over. Like, even when he said, hey, Philadelphia is my second home. We love Philadelphia. It's like, stop. We know what your story is. We know what you're about. He always looks great in practice in the off season. We've been watching those, Twitter feeds and, Instagram feeds, our entire career. So I don't care what he does.
Well, Pax, let's make believe Mac is the GM of the Nets and you're the GM of the Sixers. And he calls you up and he offers you Ben Simmons for Harden even up. You make the deal.
Wow.
Because you want to
I want the picks back. I want the picks back. Give me the picks back. No, I'm not just doing that. Give me all the picks.
All right. So there you go. So Pags,
because we have nothing to go on. We have nothing to go on for the last 2 years. He hasn't played for 2 years
But
now.
this Harden thing is going to be a very interesting saga because he's going to come to training camp with the Sixers to collect his money. He's not going to come in the best shape. He's going to be indifferent. He'll show up in body, but not emotionally, not in mind. And he's going to go through the motions. He'll do just enough where you can't bench him, but he's not going to show that little extra desire that's the result between winning and losing. So he won't do the Sixers any good. But if you trade him, you're not going to get value. It's a very ugly situation for the Sixers, this Harden thing.
Hey, listen, you know what? That's why this collective bargaining agreement that's going to get done here in the next year or so. I know that they are using the Sixers as the petri dish. I feel the NBA has used the Sixers completely as the petri dish. As, hey, you're not allowed to tank for players. Hey, we're gonna force feed you GMs and stuff like that. That worked out great because I mean he had like 18 Twitter feeds telling himself he's doing a great job, and they found that it was all him. It's like, and everything else that's been going on with this between Ben Simmons and now James Harden, you're going to see the Sixers all a part of the next collective bargaining agreement. And like I said, the NBA Players Association lost a lot of grounds because of the way these players are acting, and it's going to change tremendously. So I don't care how he comes into play.
But I've said this before. What the Sixers have to be concerned about is Joel Embiid. He's been a good citizen, putting up with everything. But if it ever gets to the point where he sees they just flat out can't win an NBA championship that year, as soon as he requests a trade, things don't get better in Philadelphia. They just get worse. And you're going to have like a Damian Lillard type situation where the Sixers are eventually going to have to move on from Embiid. They'd rather not do it. But I think their focus has to be on Embiid. They have to be, relevant to keep Embiid happy, to keep him in the fold, because Embiid hasn't said anything publicly. But you could sense that little bit of tension.
Yeah, but so the one thing that we've got going for us that is better than, I believe, every other NBA team is that with this new agreement coming into place for next year, the only team who has the ability to really make big splashes in free agency is the Sixers, because of the way that they have these contract structures set up. And I mean, hey, we just found the answer to all our problems. We just signed somebody a couple days ago. He's the answer to all our problems. Danny Green. but in a realistic sense, I mean, I kind of think that Giannis didn't re-sign with Milwaukee because they don't know. He doesn't understand where Milwaukee's plan is for this future, because they don't have the ability to do the things that they need to do without signing him. So, I mean, could we possibly see Giannis and Embiid on the same team? Power forward and center. That's a possibility. I mean, so nothing is impossible right now. And I think that the problem with this season is that it's here. You know what I mean? That we got to deal with it. And there's going to be a lot of drama. But at the end of this season, it's going to be sunshine and rainbow for the Sixers because, like I said, they're the only team right now that has the ability to really make a big splash in free agency because of the way they have all their contracts set up.
All right. So we got like almost 15 minutes left. Jack, want to get a little boxing in here. Pags, are you all set? You got to go, or you good? Can you stay through it?
I could stay through some boxing.
Okay. All right, cool.
Well, there's no big stories in boxing right now, Mac. I mean,
let's start with the Fury exhibition.
This Fury with it's considered against this mixed martial artist. I don't even want to dignify it, okay? Because he's fighting a guy who hasn't had one pro boxing match yet. I don't care how good a martial artist someone is. It's fought with boxing rules. If it was fought in the octagon, that might perk my interest a little more to talk about it. But I would rather not. I got into a lively debate with my co-host on Gluffus, Frank Laterzo. And by the way, the next 6 weeks at least, we're going to be running on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock instead of Mondays. Okay, Mac, we're counting on you to promote that, Mac. And Frank,
we're going to have to talk about that a little bit too, because some Thursdays I got some things I got to do. So
I'm first hearing now. We're negotiating on the air. We're negotiating publicly now. Okay, so leave.
Yeah, I was going to say it might have to be done on tape delay because Thursday nights usually everybody's getting ready for football.
Yeah, well, it could be a good lead-in for football. What do you think? I mean,
you want a little
and speaking of football is doing the same thing that boxing's doing. An 8:20 start to yesterday's game, the Chiefs and the Lions. Now, a lot of people work Friday. They have to be up early in the morning. Was there any need to start the game 8:20 Eastern time? I mean, they don't even start at 8. These darn games. Should it realistically be starting 7, at least 7:30? I could understand you start the game 7:30. It's going to end a little after 10:30. You might keep the audience, but come on. These darn games ending somewhere around close to midnight. It's unfair to the people on the East Coast that, have to be up the next morning to work. And why is the NFL doing this? I don't get it. Are they going to think they're not going to have the same ratings early in the game as they would if they started later? But I'm curious what their ratings were at the end of the game, whether they lost people because on the East Coast, at least, because the darn games are just ending too late. And unless it's your team, are you going to be as motivated to stay up to the very end? Now, yesterday happened to be a very good game with the Lions and the Chiefs. So they had people stay up. And that's what's happening with boxing. I'm at a Deontay Wilder fight at the Barclays Center. And the main event is beginning 12:23 a.m. Beginning. So what's my motivation to be there in person? Imagine the fight goes the distance. By the time I get my car, I travel back. That's when people like the city likes to do construction at that time, making it take an alternate route, and they end too late. I don't know. PAX goes to more sporting events than I do, actual sporting events. And leaving by car, you seldom get back when you want to get back. I mean, and I'm not complaining about it if it's a day game, a 1 o'clock game, okay. But if you're getting the Monday night game and you're getting the Eagles playing, and you're getting all that traffic, and by the time the game ends, isn't that a little bit of pain in the butt, PAX?
I mean, I guess if you're like geriatric, I can imagine. I understand where that problem comes from. That being said, I'll be honest. Starting the main event at after midnight is ridiculous. It's like, come on now, because I'll be honest, half of the people in the front row don't even show up until the main event. So they're already doing that. You could do that at 11 o'clock, and still be fine, where the main event, where you have a 10 rounds or 12 rounds of boxing and be done in an hour, but I think it's a little ridiculous when it comes to football. When the Eagles play on Monday night on the 25th of September, that game starts at 7:30. And because they have 2 Monday night games that week, where it's 7:30 and 8:20. So I kind of feel like the 7:30 game, I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out exactly where that's going to play. I think 7:30 is a better start time, specifically because you get the prime time television, you get the extra. They started 8:20 because they got to start it at 8. They don't want to start it at 8:30 because the game will go to midnight. They want to get the 20 minutes of the pregame show in there and then kick off at 8:20. I think they're going to start playing with these 7:30 times so that they can see if there's people that are actually interested in that they won't do it for Sunday games, but they may do it for the Monday night games and the Thursday night games. Sunday night games have to be after 8 o'clock.
Super Bowl does it right with a 6:30 Eastern.
I think you gotta take in consideration where the game is being played too. A lot of people in California aren't really going to care when the Eagles play, but they're going to care when the California teams play or their division plays. So Monday night you had Kansas City versus Detroit, which is what mid America. So that's not going to go off at 8 o'clock. It's going to go off around 7:30 for them and 6:30 on the West Coast. They're more interested. The East Coast.
Yeah, but Detroit was 8:20. Yeah, Detroit's still Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, but for the Eagles, they're going to want to show it earlier. They'll want to show it at 7:20 as opposed to 8 o'clock at night when the West Coast would be more into it. I think it's going to have something to do with where the teams play and where they're at too.
Yeah, but they have to lay the time starts. These are the times for the Sunday night games, and it's really what it is. I mean, but with boxing in 3 weeks, Canelo Alvarez, Jamel Charlo. So my co-host Frank Luterzo, I think I was saying before, I was starting to say, I wasn't critical of me. He liked to move it up for debate stuff, good debates, because I said if Terence Crawford fought Canelo Alvarez and didn't beat him, it would hurt his legacy. And Frank says, oh, not at all. He's moving up 3 weight divisions. Well, weight divisions are manufactured. We have so many additional weight classes that it's not like years ago. We even hear the word undisputed. Well, everyone was an undisputed champion years ago. So I don't want to hear undisputed, 4 belts to choose from. I like to compare to other sports. Imagine there were 4 possible NFL champions. And we're going to hear, well, undisputed Super Bowl champion. I mean, if we had different football organizations, well, I know you'd like this, Pags. One of them would make the Eagles their defending champions right now going into the city. One of them would have the Cowboys, I'm sure. One of them would have whoever else. I mean, it's kind of ludicrous. But Terence Crawford, if he fought Canelo Alvarez, would not be giving away substantial weight. I don't want to hear, well, Canelo is 3 divisions above him. Technically, Canelo is the super middleweight champion at 168 pounds, but realistically, he's a middleweight. Crawford's the welterweight champion, 147. If Crawford fought Canelo, he would come into the ring at 156, 157. Canelo would come in at about 166. 167. So he'd be giving away about 10 pounds. Realistically, it's not that much. Canelo's really not that much of a bigger guy. So it would affect Crawford's legacy if he couldn't beat Canelo, much the same way it would have affected Sugar Ray Robinson's if he couldn't beat Jake LaMotta, who was a bigger man who was giving away about 15 pounds too. So I don't want to hear the complaints. Crawford would need that monster win to cement himself as an all-time great. Luterzo's ready to call him an all-time great right now. I say let's wait till his career's over. Let's wait until he's done a little bit more before we discuss him as such.
Okay. A little quick thing on Canelo Charlo. Canelo's been training using high altitude, working on his cardio and speeding up his defense. So we'll see what happens in that fight where Charlo and Canelo go at it. Should be a good fight.
Good fight, September 30th. Charlo represents Jamel Charlo, a serious threat.
Yes.
But I think when all's said and done, Canelo should be able to beat him a little stronger, relentless enough. Always has the judges seeming to be on his side by a little bit, So we'll see.
So, folks, coming to the top of the show, thanks to Byron Williams for coming in. Thanks to Keith Engel, and, of course, our favorite, the Philly sports guy here. Tomorrow, Saturday Debate Show. I have some great topics for you. You're going to have to know a little bit about football to stay with us tomorrow, folks. And the Big Sunday Show. Crazy time. It's going to be full of football, full of different personalities. It's going to be full of fun, folks. So we'll see you tomorrow. Saturday Debate Show. We'll be watching for Pags as he goes to New England and the Eagles go marching against the Pats. Should be a great game. So we'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. through 9 a.m. on the Mac and Jack Sports Debate Show. Have a great Friday night, folks.